Welcome back to the 90s podcast hosted by yours truly, Kevin Thompson, founder and CEO of 99 Capital Group. Thank you guys for joining. As I always say, subscribe to the channel. As I always say, go and get my book, MLB to CFP, live on Apple and Amazon. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can email us at info@99capitalgroup.com. Send us your questions. Go to the website at www.99capitalgroup.com. Schedule your appointment. As you know, we're here to do what? Educate, empower, engage, and also entertain. Follow us on all social media channels at 9AdCap or at MLB to CFP. Today, we're talking about retirement. I have Joy Slabaugh on the call today, and we're talking about how most advisors did a great job planning to retirement, but how we've all done a poor job planning for retirement. What does that even mean? Well, I got Joy on the call today, and we're about to hash this out. Let's get it. We got my girl, Joy Slabaugh. Hey, Joy.
Hey,
I
Kevin.
appreciate the opportunity for you to come back because you give us a little bit of a deeper way to look at these things. Because quite often as CFP professionals, you're a CFP professional, we like to think of things as numbers. Hey, the number tells us that you're going to have more than retirement. This is all you need. This is going to be this is the probability of success. But it's deeper than that. You and I both know that. So thank you for joining the podcast today, my friend.
Thanks for having me, Kevin. It is a delight. I never get tired of talking about the deeper side of money. And so I'm really delighted to be back with you and all your listeners and viewers.
Well, I keep, I like to keep these short, but I also like to keep them educational. And so I was on a call a couple of days ago, and I'm going to tell you this, the majority of my calls now aren't just typically, this is your portfolio performance. This is what you're doing. This is what your e-money says, yada, yada, yada. It's about, hey, you know what? I'm worried about my son because of X, or I'm worried about my mother because of Y. I'm going to have to do, it's very rarely strictly about financial planning. It's about everything else around it. And that's one thing I think from a financial planning perspective, we're like psychologists to a degree. Like we're like their therapists. I have conversations that go 30, 45 minutes, and we don't even touch on anything that they have to do about their financial plan. It's just about more like a financial therapy.
Yeah. I think I see this with the really successful advisors, or the really skilled advisors, I should say. Maybe only 5 to 10% of the conversations are actually about money. The rest of it is about life and the person and everything around the money, which is what
100%.
you're describing. And to me, that's where we can be most powerful as financial advisors, is when we help people figure out how to put their money to work for them and their values and their life, as opposed to like orienting their life around their money.
Well, this is perfect because we're going to segue right into the crux of our conversation, because I always say most advisors, as an advisor, we do a great job planning to retirement. Hey, gather your assets, 401k, put some money into a savings account, maybe some insurance policies, yada, 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 possibly some estate planning. Hey, we got you buttoned up, but we do a very poor job planning for retirement. So I'm going to start there with you. What does that mean to you when someone says planning for retirement?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think of this as how do we, again, it's what do you want your life to be? And then it's how do we put our money to work for you to bring to life what is important to you? And this, I think about someone that I worked with at Vanguard, 30 plus years at one of the top financial companies in the world. And when they retired, they really felt adrift. What is their life? What is meaning? Who are they now? And that is not uncommon. We focus, like to your point, we focus so much on getting there, and then we get there and it's now what? Who am I? What was all this for? What does this mean? So I think it can be really powerful when we help people understand what matters to them.
Yeah.
And retirement can be an opportunity to really bring that to life. And then our job as planners is help them line the money up so they can actually bring their values to life at this stage.
I like what you're saying. I think it was, remember Shawshank Redemption? Remember
Yeah.
that movie, Shawshank?
Yeah.
Okay. Wasn't there a guy that they let out of prison like 40 years or whatever? He was 40
Yeah.
years in prison, and then
Yeah.
he was going back into the real world, and he didn't know what to do, and he ended up killing himself,
Yeah.
God forbid. But
Yeah.
it's that kind of concept because it's like, I've been doing this for 30 to 40 years. What am I? Who am I? And why do I even exist? Because this was me. This was half
Right.
of my life. And
Right.
I always go back to that Shawshank Redemption that part where he was like looking around, but he didn't fit in. And I think a lot of people that get to retirement, they feel like they just don't fit in because they still have some good years in them. What do you say about
Right.
that?
Yeah. Yeah. I was in my 30s and I read a whole bunch about why are some people happy and other people not happy? And
Mhm.
why do some people live a long time when they retire and other people don't? And one of the common threads that I found was about connection, community, and relationships.
Yeah.
This is what gives people meaning and purpose. And the way our society is structured, we're really lonely for the most part, unless we really put a lot of effort into building connection and community and
Yeah.
relationships. And I think retirement just exacerbates this. When you work, you have this built-in set of people that you interact with. Maybe
Hmm.
you love them, maybe you hate them, maybe it's somewhere in between. And you've worked with them for so long and you feel like, oh, yeah, we're going to be friends for life. Well, a lot of these relationships don't translate outside of work, actually.
Hmm. Hmm.
And so then folks are left really alone and adrift.
Hmm.
And I think what can be really powerful is if we start having more conversations with people about connection and community and relationships and what are they doing to nurture that now and what are they going to be like in retirement? What do they want them to be like in retirement? And then also can be, all right, so how do we put your money to work for you to nurture this, to enable
Yeah.
this?
Yeah. And so for many of my clients, and I'll just be brutally honest, like it's not an issue of not having enough money. That's not their issue. Their issue is, okay, Kevin, because I'm dealing with one right now. I mean, he 4 million, $5 million of net worth or whatever. And he's like, well, I said, you could have done this 2 years ago, right? Well, I want to go to 65 now because I want to get Medicare and all this. It's always something that comes up, right? It's always like, I
Yeah.
want to do this because this is going to be like 65 to 67. Well, I want to get to that full retirement age. So I guess it's always going to be an excuse because the reality when I asked him, I said, what's the real reason for this? He says, Kevin, you know what? Um, I know that I can only play so many rounds of golf, right?
Mhm.
My job's not that difficult. And I know I have two ailing parents and I'm gonna have to do 24-hour act or care for them. I'm gonna have to take care of them. So I'm just not ready for that yet. And I was like, there you go. Just say that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
those are the difficult conversations because people really feel that way. Just like, hey, I'm used to this. I'm used to getting up at this time and knowing where to be. It's easy for me. I can deal with that. But it's all
Mhm.
of the life's unknowns. Like, okay, I got to be here for my parents. I need to do this for my kids. Maybe they have a grandbaby comes up. Like, it's those unknowns make people feel a little bit insecure in their
Mhm.
decisions. That's
Mhm.
just what I feel when I hear these conversations.
Yeah, I think that's a big piece of it. And also, I think there's this question of identity. Who
Yeah,
am I?
yeah.
And the way, the a message our culture tells us is that our identity is tied to our work and
Hmm.
our value is tied to our work. And so for many people, that's the identity they have is if you ask someone, tell me about yourself, one of the first things they say is what their work is or where they
Yeah,
work. Because
yeah.
it's core to their identity because our culture, preaches that really loudly.
Hmm.
And this really doesn't serve us well, though, when we are nearing the end of our working age, because then it's like, well, who am I? Do I have any identity? So
Yeah.
I would love to offer to folks that our identity can be a lot richer and more meaningful than just the work we do or where we work. And I really invite folks to explore that. It can be a little scary sometimes,
Mm.
honestly, because like,
Yeah.
who am I without my fancy pedigree and impressive career or whatever that or successful business I've built?
Yeah.
But if and this is where I think as financial advisors that we can be that compassionate, calm presence of like, all right, look, you've got enough money to explore this. I'm here with you. If you want to get curious about, there can be more to life than just work. Like we can have these conversations. And that is what I think can help ease people in making that transition.
So helping ease people to talk about the transition, you're absolutely correct on that. But so what are some of the early warning signs? Like I've had, like I said, I see these conversations and I'm starting to have these conversations more often because I ask them, I said, hey, I have a lady that they have plenty of money. They can't spend the amount of money that they're getting on a monthly basis.
Hmm.
And I was like, so why did you wait this additional year or whatnot? She's like, I just didn't know what I was gonna do, Kevin. I really
Hmm.
didn't. I didn't know what tomorrow looked like or the next day
Hmm.
looked like. Like waking up every morning without that the schedule on where to
Hmm.
go, where to be. It's kind of scary at times. I said, okay.
Yeah.
So what are some of the signs you see that people are struggling with identity?
Hmm. So one sign would be when their life is not multifaceted. So
Hmm.
if you're talking with them and it seems like their life revolves around work,
Hmm.
well, that's probably going to be a problem when work goes away because there's this huge void, right? It's a lot healthier when you're talking to people and you're hearing they have, about their family and about their friends and their community. Maybe it's church
Wow.
community, volunteer
Wow. Okay.
community, and yes, also work. But when you see this multifaceted, rich tapestry in their life, that's a really good sign, right? And when it's just one part, when their life seems to be built entirely around work, that is a warning sign. Another warning sign also is when they do tell you like, yeah, I have no idea what I'm gonna do in retirement. Um,
I
that
mean, I mean, but think about it though. Like it's justified. Like there's only so many rounds of golf I can play, or how long I'm going
Yeah,
to spend on my boat fishing, or
absolutely.
going to. I can go to Rome, I can go to France, I can go to Europe, I can go to Spain, I can go all these other places. But how many times can I do that until it's like, okay, now what?
Right.
And
Agreed.
that's yeah, yeah,
Agreed. And this is where I encourage people like, let's just take an evolutionary perspective to this. So, like,
yeah,
roll the clock back 10,000 years
yeah.
before we had, industrial anything, before we were even, farmers, frankly, when we're just hunter gatherers. There's research out there that says we worked on average 4 hours a day. We were in
Hmm.
community, everybody helped with the hunting, the berry picking, child caring, cooking, all that stuff. And you worked about 4 hours a day. And the rest of the time you relaxed.
Yeah.
And so this is what the human body evolved to be.
Uh-huh.
And we're really far removed from that right now, the way our society works. But I
Because
love to,
we're no longer a communal society, right? We're all about yeah. I got you. Go ahead.
right, right.
Yeah.
And so I encourage folks to
Don't say communal too loud around it. People
Okay,
say
we'll go with community.
boycott my podcast. Go ahead. Go. I was kidding with you.
Community. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I encourage folks to think about if like what just reimagining what life can be like and
Yeah.
that this idea that feels so entrenched to us and so normal is actually really new. Like it's
Hmm.
only a couple hundred years that we've had the idea of a work day and a job that you go to. This is really, really new for humans, even though it feels like everything to some of us. And so I encourage people, I like to provide a little perspective
Yeah.
around this isn't actually always the way humans have worked,
Oh,
have
it's
been.
Henry Ford. This is Henry Ford all day long. 1900s. He's like, put this thing in place. Give him a 40-hour work week. This is, yeah, 100%. It's ingrained in our ideology now about this is how we're supposed to be. Yeah, 100%.
Right.
Yeah.
And I also like to remind people that what has been lost in this is our connection to community.
Hmm.
That, used to we couldn't survive without community. Well, now we are able to survive more independently, that we're not going to literally die because we don't have we're not in community. And so we've lost our connection to that. And so but it actually is really important to our mental well-being and our emotional well-being. And research does show that people die sooner when they don't have friendships and they don't have meaningful relationships. And so it still is a matter of life or death. It's just like different the way it shows up as life or death, if that makes sense.
Yeah. See, so I was born in the 70s, right? I'm a 70s baby. Now, I say I was born in 79. Okay. But it still counts, right? Now, I think you were born in the 80s, right? You were born in
Yeah.
the 80s. So
Yeah.
we're a little bit different when it comes to community. For us, we had the latchkey. Like, hey, get your butt home after school. You walk your butt down there, and the parents will be home sometime during the night, and then the food's going to be in the fridge or something to that effect. Fix yourself something, right? Figure it
Mhm.
out. Versus, and then not only that, then there's people around you that had kids. So the communities of kids from back when I was a kid. I mean, from up the street to down the street, we could get a game in like 5 minutes, right? And everybody was just is a communal community.
Mhm.
But right now in this new world we're living in, that no longer exists because people move like every 3 to 5 years. You can have somebody, you can like Joe across the street. But next thing you
Mhm.
know, Joe's gone because Joe and his family moved to Wisconsin because they have a job
Right.
opportunity. It's like, well, this is crazy. So it doesn't correlate as the same. But the reason why I'm
Yeah.
saying all of that is because back to your community a point. Back when we were all quote unquote in the wilderness, all the child rearing happened by the community, not by the parents, but by the
Right.
community. And that's what they say. It takes a community to raise a child. That's where that
Right.
comes from. So from a community perspective and from a retirement perspective, that same community needs to exist when you go
Yeah.
into retirement because, hey, you're going to be left alone. And like, when you leave a kid alone, what happens?
Right. And then also like thinking, so we're talking about at the early stages of life, children, but let's also go to the later stages of life, which is what retirement is.
Yeah.
Back when we were hunter gatherers,
Mm,
the older folks, they helped out. They had purpose and meaning. They're helping care for the kids too. They're doing what they can. And this gives
mm.
purpose and meaning. And it's the community and the connection. And
Yeah.
so, what I would love to invite folks to think about, like you've reached that stage, you have more money than you can spend. Think about how you can build community. Because I recognize that it actually is harder and harder to build meaningful relationships, just the
Mhm.
way our community our society is structured. Social media actually makes it harder. And so we have to be really intentional if we want to build meaningful relationships. And one way we can do that is in community. So if you have
Mm.
extra resources, maybe think about how do you invest them in community and building community? Because that is going to benefit you as well as, of course, those around you, but also you and your well being, mental and emotional well being, and probably help you live longer.
Well, they say once a man, twice a child. You know what I mean? So just both ends of the spectrum.
Yeah.
One thing I've been noticing, and it was going to be a question of mine, like how can you re-engage? How can retirees stay socially and mentally engaged without feeling like they're just trying to fill time? And one thing I've
Mhm.
noticed is especially where people are training and trying to get in shape,
Mhm.
exercising. I have these groups of guys and girls and people just with cycling clubs. There's a big
Mhm.
cycling club right up, and I was gonna get into cycling and everything, but like 30 of them, and they're all up in age, but it's like joining cycling clubs, joining all kinds of maybe joining a social club or something like that. Give you opportunities to meet new people and to stay engaged. I'm 100% on board with that.
Yeah. So, like, what you're talking about is about hobbies,
Hmm.
finding things you enjoy, and then find other people who also enjoy that thing. That's a great way. And I think we're starting to see more and more that people are tired of only connecting digitally and they
Hmm.
want more in real life things. So you
Yeah.
can find groups, or if you don't find it, you can also start them.
Hmm.
So hobbies are as a common interest as a way. Also volunteering, find an issue you care about. They need people to help set up chairs, do paperwork. Also, there's all sorts of mentoring you can do to young people, be it, high school students or even young business people. If you're in the later stages of life, you've got a lot of accumulated wisdom that some people would really, really value. So there's a lot of opportunities where if you find causes you care about, you can get involved and that can give you meaning and purpose too, that you're now in the stage of what is my legacy? Because
Hmm.
from a development standpoint, and when people are reaching retirement, this is like the question they're grappling with is what is my legacy? And so volunteering can be a great way to really work through that question as well as getting connection and community and meaning and purpose all in one.
So I'm gonna be brutally honest here because I understand what they're going through. I understand
Mhm.
that it's a serious issue. I don't see myself ever stopping doing something, at least something,
Mhm.
right? Like I can run this company until I'm 90 years old if I wanted to, right? But it's
Mhm.
just like I don't see like why not? Because a lot of them can just say I can continue to do my job, but
Mhm.
maybe I'll instead of 40 hours a week, I'll put in 20, but I
Mhm.
can just be able to do something. You'll start seeing people, and not all Walmart greeters are there because they have to make money. Some Walmart greeters
Mhm.
are there because it gives them purpose, right? So
Mhm.
maybe finding something at a shelter or doing something at local food pantries, those types of
Yeah.
things. I have a lot of people. I have one of my retirees. They volunteer at the airport, so it's just about
Wow.
finding things, volunteering. Yeah. So, question for you is, what's one thing you wish advisors would do differently when preparing clients for retirement, not just to retirement?
Asking them about the relationships in their life.
Hmm.
Who are the important relationships in their life? What are they doing to nurture them? And even how are they allocating their financial resources to cultivate nurturing these relationships? Because that is what makes every stage of life meaningful, but especially retirement. And it helps with longevity. So I think we can really help advisors. We can really help people if we're looking at this as part of the retirement question is relationships, because that impacts so much of their health and satisfaction. And so let's also help people put their money to work to support this too.
Yes, beautiful, eloquent, Joy. I'm going to say this before we get off because I like to keep these short. I think this is one of the most important topics that we have in our industry that's overlooked because we like to talk about everything else, the products, the services, and all this other stuff. But this one key point, because when they get there, they're gonna look at you like they're gonna be calling you. I got clients calling me, "Hey, I'm just checking in on you, seeing what's going on." I'm like, "What's up, man?" He's, "I'm just, I'm just retired, just want to see what's going down." But if so one piece of advice that I would give someone, and I'm going to give you the same question, but one piece of advice that I would give someone that's 6 months out or further, 6 months out or later or further out in
Mhm.
retirement is that if you're getting ready to retire, you need to start building something out, like your daily, your weekly,
Mhm.
your monthly, your yearly. Like what does that look like? Give
Yeah.
yourself some leeway. You don't have to do something day one. Okay, it's a Saturday. I'm gonna go get on a cruise. Yeah, it's not about that. You can say, you know what? 6 weeks from now, we got a trip planned. Another 6 weeks after that, maybe we'll go to the grandkids, or the grandkids stay with the grandkids for a week, or the grandkids come sit with us. Maybe we'll go meet some family up here a month later. Just doing those types of things, keep it, and that gives you routine. Like every 30 days or 60 days or 90 days, we're gonna have something planned out for ourselves.
Hmm.
Perfect. You know what I mean? So that doesn't leave you with oh man, I'm sitting here. I'm gonna go hang out in the garden for another 4 hours. You know what I mean? Just getting out of the house. Maybe getting
Hmm.
up in the morning. Today, every morning I go for a daily walk. 30. I do my daily walks every morning, right? So just doing
Hmm.
daily walks, exercises, things like that. So what's one piece of advice you would give for the person that's 6 months out or a year out from retirement?
Well, I really like the advice you gave. I think that's really smart.
Oh, then we're done. Okay, no, I'm just kidding. There you go.
I really like that. If I'm going to add on, because
Mhm.
I do think what you said is really wise, it also would be take a relationship inventory
Oh
and
wow.
look at the
Yeah.
relationships you have in your life that are meaning. Do you have meaningful relationships in your life? Not everyone can answer yes to that.
Mm.
And if you don't, I would think about being really mindful. How do you invest in starting to build relationships? There's a bit of a gender gap here. There's research that shows women have more friends later in life than men do. And that for a lot of men, they lose a lot of their friends by about their 30s. And then the only friends they have is their partner and their partner's friends. And that's not always true, but that's like what the research shows.
Mm.
So like take look at the relationships you do or don't have and invest in them. So just like you're investing in building up your portfolio to make sure you have this financial security, think about investing in relational relationships and relational health, because that is going to have a really big impact on your well-being into and through retirement and even impact your physical well-being.
That's the most important thing that was said today is the relationships. That's phenomenal. Joy, thank you for joining us. I appreciate you. That was powerful. We talked again today. We talked about the whys, the hows, the wins, and the most important thing is, you know, planning for retirement versus planning to retirement. Why it's important for us as advisors to really look at the other half, the downside or the years after we retire versus not just a monetary figure. But hey, any last words you want to put on this show, my friend?
I feel like I'm tapped out.
I caught her off guard, guys. I caught her off guard.
You got my best stuff.
Joy, thank you for joining the 90s podcast today. We appreciate your time. And again, beautiful, beautiful, eloquent, and love what you do.
Thanks, Kevin.
We just had Joy Slabaugh on the show today talking about financial wellness. And one of the most important things she said to me was taking a inventory, not just financial inventory, but an inventory on your relationships. That is powerful. That's why we had her on the show, giving us insights, giving us that wrinkle. As I always say, subscribe to the channel. Go and get my book, MLB to CFP, live on Apple and Amazon. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you email us at info@99capitalgroup.com. Send us your questions. Go to the website at www.99capitalgroup.com. Schedule an appointment. As you know, we're here to do what? Educate, empower, engage, and also entertain. Follow us on all social media channels at MLB to CFP or at 99cap. If you want to follow Joy, she has a YouTube channel at Joy Slabaugh on your YouTube station. Go to her LinkedIn also and follow her on at Joy Slabaugh on her LinkedIn. Wonderful opportunities to really hear what she has to say. Thank you guys for listening. Stay humble, stay safe, my friends. I'll see you again soon.